Throughout history, the concept of traditional culture encompasses a vast and complex spectrum. Each ethnic group, nation, and region possesses its own distinct traditional cultures, with many civilizations boasting long histories that even trace back to mythological times. Among the traditional cultural periods of Western ethnic groups, ancient Greek culture and Jewish culture have had the most extensive influence, significantly shaping the trajectory of subsequent generations. As such, they are often described as the two foundational pillars of Western traditional civilization. The Renaissance, frequently referenced in discussions of Western culture, profoundly impacted modern thought, literature, art, and various other fields. This period marked a revival of the artistic and cultural systems that flourished in ancient Greece and Rome, contrasting sharply with the prevailing Christian civilization of Europe. While I have discussed aspects of this complex Renaissance process in previous articles on art history, I will not revisit those points here. Instead, this article will focus on ancient Greek and Roman times, exploring mythological stories to gain a clearer understanding of history. The chaos of mythology. Last year, major media outlets worldwide reported shocking news. In the textbook Professional Ethics and Law, approved and published by China's Ministry of Education in 2018, the story of Jesus pardoning a sinful woman was distorted into Jesus stoning her to death. This textbook cited the account from chapter 8 of the Gospel of John. In the New Testament, the original story reads, "When they kept on questioning him, Jesus straightened up and said to them, 'Let any one of you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her.' Then he stooped down and wrote on the ground with his finger. At this, those who heard began to go away one at a time, the older ones first, until only Jesus was left. With the woman still standing there, Jesus straightened up and asked her, 'Woman?'" Quoted from the Chinese Harmony version of the Bible, Gospel of John, chapter 8. However, in the Professional Ethics and Law textbook, the story was completely reversed. It stated, "Once Jesus said to all the angry people who wanted to kill a woman who had sinned, 'If anyone has never sinned, then step forward to kill her.' Upon hearing this, everyone stopped and no one stepped forward. When everyone left, Jesus stoned the woman to death and said, 'I, too, am a sinner. But if the law is executed by someone without fault, then the law will die.'" What? This misinformation sparked worldwide outrage and led to the textbook's recall. Textbooks hold a significant position in education, as they are studied by teachers, students, and scholars alike. Without understanding the essence of the story, readers might mistakenly perceive Jesus as a murderer. Throughout history, even among non-religious individuals, Jesus has been regarded as a moral exemplar. Yet, such a figure was misrepresented in a textbook of our times, with his reputation maliciously tarnished and transformed into that of a killer. If such falsehoods continue to proliferate through educational materials, how severely will human morality be compromised? Given that textbooks can contain such serious errors, it raises concerns about how ancient cultures have been modified throughout history. Greek mythology. Predating Jesus' teachings. Has undergone significant alterations. The gods of mythology are no longer revered by humanity. Today, the name of the ancient Greek god Zeus is often used for pets, and is even commonplace in Western culture. From the cultural legacy we inherit today, it is evident that ancient Greek gods have been attributed numerous negative traits by humans, such as greed, lust, jealousy, and cruelty. They are often depicted as embodying the basest desires and demonic qualities of villains, rarely showcasing benevolence or righteousness. Zeus, in particular, has been unjustly portrayed as an unforgivable evil entity. However, ancient Greek historical records reveal a starkly different image. In these accounts, Zeus embodied justice and wisdom, exhibiting fairness and impartiality towards humanity. When people lived virtuously, he would bless them with bountiful harvests. Conversely, when they committed wrongdoing, he would send natural disasters as retribution. A bust of the 8th century BC poet Hesiod exemplifies this confusion. Hesiod, often mistaken for the ancient Roman philosopher Seneca in Western art history, is well known in Chinese art circles. This plaster statue has been used in art university entrance exams in China. Yet for decades some art teachers have misidentified it as a pirate due to its hairstyle, appearance and expression. In his work Works and Days, Hesiod argues, Zeus has given humanity the best gift of righteousness. For anyone who knows righteousness and values it, Zeus will bestow blessings upon them. The depiction of Zeus's statue atop Olympus, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, was created in 1815 by French archaeologist, architect, and art historian Quatremère de Quincy. The statue, completed by the Greek sculptor Phidias around 435 BC, was housed in the Temple of Zeus at Olympia, Greece, approximately 12 meters tall. It was reportedly crafted from gold-plated bronze, precious stones, ivory, and gold. Ancient texts described Zeus holding a scepter in one hand, and the goddess of victory in the other, majestically seated on a golden throne. Although the statue disappeared after a fire in the 5th century CE, its artistic value continues to captivate global audiences, securing its status as one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Hesiod cautioned those in power against wrongdoing. Whoever acts with violence, Zeus, the son of Cronus, with his all-seeing eye, will punish them. Entire cities have faced calamity due to the misdeeds of a single individual. The son of Cronus brought famine and plague upon them. Consequently, the inhabitants suffered, wives became infertile, and homes were destroyed by Zeus. Though these narratives are ancient, their implications resonate with contemporary issues such as spreading epidemics and declining birth rates. After the rise of ancient Greek civilization, Greek mythology evolved through various versions as folk traditions infused new details and writers made arbitrary compositions. The mythological tales primarily stemmed from oral traditions, lacking the rigor of factual, historical records. Ancient Greece was a collection of independent city-states, each with its unique mythological stories and legends. Due to geographic, temporal, and variant differences, numerous internal contradictions arose within the Greek mythological system. The chaos of mythology and traditional philosophical thought. Part 2. Today, Greek mythology is primarily known through the epics of Homer and Hesiod, which represent 2 relatively harmonious and unified systems. However, numerous contradictions arise because each source offers a different version. Beyond these 2 foundational texts, other authors like playwright Sophocles, lyric poet Pindar, and playwright Aeschylus introduced additional themes, further distorting the original narratives. Moreover, various groups outside the Orthodox Olympian faith, such as the Orphics and followers of the Eleusinian mysteries, contributed to different iterations of mythology based on their unique doctrines, complicating the Greek mythological system. For many Eastern readers unfamiliar with Western mythology, we can consider 2 well-known deities, Athena and Apollo. Athena is often referred to as Pallas Athena. A commonly shared version states that she accidentally killed her close friend, the nymph Pallas, during a combat practice session. Overcome with grief, Athena adopted the name Pallas Athena in her friend's honor. Pallas Athena statue in front of the Austrian Parliament building, sculpted between 1893 and 1902. The statue depicts Athena in a combat helmet and armor, holding a spear in one hand and the goddess of victory in the other. Yagagab in another version, Pallas was a giant slain by Athena during the Gigantomachy, the battle between gods and giants rebelling against Zeus. Yet another account claims Athena killed a titan named Pallas, unrelated to the Gigantomachy. Greek mythology offers countless interpretations. Legend has it that Athena was initially called Pallas, and due to the widespread worship of the goddess by the Athenians, Her name evolved to Pallas Athena, indicating her connection to Athens without reference to anyone else. This multitude of complex versions makes it challenging to discern the truth. The name Phoebus Apollo, associated with the god of music, poetry, light, and the sun, is also often conflated. Furthermore, the identity of the sun god in Greek mythology comprises multiple characters. Apollo's statue is seated with a lyre, made of porphyry and marble, created in the 2nd century CE, currently housed in the National Archaeological Museum of Naples. Or during the era of the 12 Titans, Hyperion, the son of Earth goddess Gaia, and sky god Uranus, was the original deity of light and the sun. However, with the emergence of his son, Helios in mythology, confusion between the two became commonplace. Helios, who drove the sun chariot across the sky daily, was also regarded as the sun god. Over time, different versions of Greek mythology overlapped, leading many to conflate Helios with Apollo, the son of Zeus. If these chaotic mythological variations were limited to mere confusion about identities, they might not seriously undermine human morality. However, when writers and the public began to freely reinterpret mythology based on personal preferences, culture edged toward a precarious precipice. By the late 7th century BCE, diverse characters from various myths began to overlap, creating a chaotic and complex narrative landscape. Relationships and interactions among story characters became increasingly intimate, leading to numerous bizarre mythological tales about interactions between male gods and heroes. This shift gradually distorted the original meanings of stories that once depicted pure and dignified friendships. Moral decay and the pursuit of unhealthy stimulation contributed to the rise of male homosexuality. This phenomenon may also be linked to the ancient Olympics, where only men were allowed to compete, and athletes were required to compete nude. Public admiration for the male physique flourished, fostering an environment conducive to the development of male homosexuality. While female homosexuality existed, the lower social status of women in ancient Greece prevented it from becoming a prominent trend. As the number of homosexual men in society reached a critical mass, writers began to exploit and exaggerate this theme to attract readers. Literary and artistic works from the 5th century BCE reflect that many male gods had at least one young male companion, and heroes often had male allies. This situation may seem irrational, yet it resonates with certain contemporary social phenomena. Post-World War II Western society adopted a more open-minded attitude, though discussions about homosexuality were often framed as immoral behavior. Today, many countries have rushed to legalize same-sex marriage, with politicians, despite personal reservations, feeling compelled to publicly support it due to political pressure. In literary and artistic circles, there has been a resurgence of similar themes, paralleling trends from ancient Greece. When comparing these two trends, it's evident that the distortion of Greek mythology reflects the imposition of modernist thinking onto ancient narratives, rather than an authentic representation of traditional thought. The preservation of human civilization necessitates adherence to certain moral principles. Without them, society risks destruction. This is not only a divine will, but also a historical law and a societal necessity, echoing the deep-seated pursuits of the human spirit. Cultures steeped in corruption and decadence may provide temporary stimulation, but lack longevity. Ancient Greece flourished during its golden age in the 5th and 6th centuries BCE. Yet this prosperity lasted only about a century before declining under the weight of various negative ideologies. Externally, as people's hearts darkened, cunning was lauded as intelligence, while righteousness was viewed as foolishness. This moral decay led to contradictions and civil strife, weakening the Greek city-states. Ultimately, with the rise of Rome, Greek civilization withdrew from the historical stage by the 2nd century BCE. The chaos of mythology and traditional philosophical thought, Part 3. While the preceding discussion is simplified, the actual historical processes are incredibly complex. A mere glance at the myriad wars, large and small, that occurred continuously in ancient Greece can be overwhelming. Analyzing factors such as geographical position, social structure, and economic frameworks offers insight into the external reasons for Greece's decline. But these are ultimately tied to the human heart. History is replete with examples of moral degradation leading to poor judgments and decisions, culminating in destruction. Thus, while the ancient Greeks appeared to be defeated by the Romans, this external defeat reflected a deeper truth. Degradation leads to destruction. In contrast to Greek mythology, Roman mythology lacks the extensive array of strange stories and legends, particularly in its early period. The primitive Roman gods did not embody personal experiences, marriages, or offspring. They lacked the personified behaviors found in Greek mythology. Consequently, there are few records detailing their activities, leaving modern readers relatively unfamiliar with Roman mythology. As the Romans conquered Greek territories, they absorbed elements of Greek civilization. Over time, cultural integration led to the conflation of Roman and Greek deities, resulting in instances where the same god was referred to by different names. The historical development of ancient Rome followed the pattern of formation, stability, decline, destruction. As corrupt ideologies became ingrained in folk customs, they exerted a profound negative influence on morality. For instance, the Bacchanalia festival, which originated in Greece, transformed into a debauched celebration in Rome, despite its divine status. Although it was officially banned in 186 BCE, the festival persisted clandestinely for a considerable time. Despite its alluring name, any corrupt practice cannot endure indefinitely. Such practices may even attract divine retribution. The destruction of Pompeii, attributed to moral decay, serves as a poignant reminder that cultural decline can lead to catastrophic consequences. While this discussion addresses cultural decline, it is essential to recognize that human culture encompasses both positive and negative aspects. In subsequent sections, we will explore the brighter elements of ancient Greek culture. However, it is crucial to acknowledge that culture is a complex amalgamation, making it challenging for later generations to differentiate between good and evil. Much of Greek culture became corrupted and has negatively impacted society. The moral corruption that led to the downfall of ancient Greece did not signify the complete extinction of its cultural legacy. Its vitality persisted, akin to resilient weeds, continuing to influence human history, even into the present day. Historically, ideologies that ancient Romans deemed heretical and sought to eradicate later became integrated into their society due to their rich diversity. Similarly, early Christianity viewed Greek thought as heterodox and attempted to suppress it. Yet certain positive elements of Greek culture became intertwined with religious doctrines and even contributed to theological development. Following the Reformation, various sects insisted on purifying doctrines and eliminating non-Christian elements. Yet these had already become deeply embedded in culture, art, philosophy, and politics. Today, even those advocating for homosexuality and other non-traditional lifestyles trace their roots back to Greek antiquity, labeling them as traditions passed down through generations. The description of Zeus bust sponsored by Popius the Styx, excavated at Otricoli in 1775. This bust now resides in the Vatican Museum, Abjagda. Closer examination of the classical works inherited from ancient Greece reveals that many scholars and philosophers were critical of the chaotic mythological narratives of their time. For example, the philosopher and poet Xenophanes, active in the 6th century BCE, vehemently opposed the adaptations of mythology by poets and playwrights, viewing them as blasphemous fabrications that offended the gods. A century later, Socrates and his student Plato expressed subtle critiques of Homer's poetic works in texts like the Republic. This article presents only a surface-level overview of cultural developments based on common theories, yet it's important to understand that surface events have fundamental origins and deeper causes. Consequently, Uncovering the true nature of history, including the intricate details of historical figures from the period when humans and gods coexisted, remains challenging in our multicultural and complex era. Some aspects may not be suitable for casual discussion at this time. Perhaps only in the future, as the fog of history clears, will the true narrative be revealed to humanity. Feel free to let me know if you'd like any further adjustments. Chaos in mythology and traditional philosophical thought, religion and philosophy. Ancient Greek religions were intricately linked to mythology, yet they were not identical. Religion selected aspects of mythology and culture with educational significance to impart moral lessons. In fact, during that era, belief in the gods was universal, making the term religion somewhat anachronistic. For convenience, academia continues to use this term. Another term frequently encountered is philosophy. As discussed in Seeing the Changes in Human Thought Through a Period of Art History, Part 2, ancient Greek philosophy was not merely knowledge as we conceive it today. It resembled cultivation practices and methods that were passed down through generations. Some modern scholars liken it to the cultivation methods taught by Buddha Shakyamuni and Laozi, suggesting that philosophy and ancient religions share more similarities than differences. Take Pythagoras as an example. Now classified as a philosopher, his teachings also encompassed numerous religious and theological viewpoints. Thus, when discussing Greek religion, Pythagorean thought is often categorized as a form of religion. Greek mythology and legends primarily served as storytelling and entertainment, often reflecting human logic and attachments. Writers humanized, personified, and even demonized the gods, while some philosophers and religious sects of the time largely ignored these fabrications. The entrance to Apollo's temple at Delphi famously bore three maxims: know thyself, nothing in excess, and rash oaths bring disaster, indicating differing teachings between religion and mythology. Nevertheless, there were also negative influences, such as the Eleusinian mysteries, which included obscene rituals. During later periods, the decline of public morality was evident, exemplified by the debauchery associated with the temple of the love god, which will not be elaborated further. Reconstruction of Apollo's temple at Delphi. Another distinctive characteristic of ancient Greek religion was its emphasis on divine revelations or oracles. Individuals, whether rulers or commoners, would seek guidance from the gods at sacred sites, typically temples of various deities. If the gods accepted their prayers, prophetic messages would be delivered, which priests would interpret in verse or poetry. The oracles at Delphi, attributed to Apollo, were renowned for their accuracy, making the Delphi temple a vital religious center since the 8th century BCE, during the life of Socrates. The oracle at Delphi proclaimed, "No one is wiser than Socrates." This proclamation incited jealousy, leading to Socrates being baselessly accused of disrespecting the gods and corrupting the youth, ultimately resulting in his death sentence by a jury. A 500 statue of Socrates. Execution of revered figures due to selfish desires is not uncommon. A notable example from the Bible is King Herod's massacre of infants. Upon hearing of celestial signs indicating the birth of a new king of the Jews, he viewed it as a threat and ordered the killing of all infants under 2 in Bethlehem. Such instances occur throughout history, both ancient and modern. Those in power, fearing the emergence of rival kings, have committed indiscriminate massacres based on prophetic interpretations. Among religious officials, including bishops and priests, there have been many corrupt individuals who genuinely believed in the divine. In contemporary China, while atheism is promoted, many corrupt officials still engage in superstitious practices like feng shui, revealing that belief does not preclude moral depravity. These examples underscore a critical issue. Belief in the divine does not inherently lead to moral integrity. Morality is not merely contingent upon belief. It is intertwined with human conduct and interactions. If an individual professes belief in the divine yet disregards its moral imperatives, such belief becomes disingenuous. Ancient sagas prioritized moral cultivation, contrasting sharply with today's focus on external knowledge and skills as measures of worth. For instance, Thales of Miletus, c. 624–548 BCE, regarded as one of the 7 sages of ancient Greece, is often celebrated for his contributions to astronomy and geography. Yet his true legacy lies in his commitment to public morality and ethical conduct. Thales accurately predicted a total solar eclipse on May 28, 585 BCE. And in Aristotle's Politics, his foresight of a bumper olive harvest demonstrates his understanding transcended mere scientific knowledge. Modern interpretations often attribute these achievements solely to scientific prowess, neglecting the prophetic dimensions of Thales' insight. The term philosophy derives from the Latin philosophia, which in turn comes from the Greek agaoa, combining philos, love, and sophia, wisdom. This concept parallels notions of compassion and enlightenment in Buddhism, and love in Christianity, each representing different expressions of cultivation. Modern perspectives frequently impose contemporary interpretations on ancient thinkers. For instance, some materialists interpret Thales' assertion that water is the origin of all things as supporting materialism, ignoring his acknowledgement that all things have spirit. A true cultivator, having attained wisdom, possesses profound insights into the nature of reality that transcend ordinary understanding. Thales' advocacy for the duality of spirit and matter suggests an enlightened perspective that is often overlooked today. Thales also posited that the earth rests on water, reminiscent of Buddhist cosmology, describing Mount Sumeru as situated on water. The rich cosmological descriptions in ancient texts challenge the notion that such imaginings were mere fabrications of primitive minds. In Phaedo, Plato records Socrates' vivid descriptions of the earth in another realm, detailing its composition and beauty. Unfortunately, these accounts are often dismissed by modern philosophy scholars, who focus solely on empirical observations. Aristotle, in Metaphysics, noted ancient views of nature as intertwined with mythological beliefs. He referred to Oceanus and Thetis as the primordial deities from whom the world sprang, indicating that ancient Greeks viewed their cosmology as deeply connected to the divine. The modern conception of matter as purely physical fails to capture the ancient understanding of the relationship between matter and divinity. The four elements theory, originating from philosophers like Empedocles, exemplifies this integration. This theory posits that the world is composed of 4 fundamental elements: earth, water, fire, and air. Interestingly, similar concepts arose in ancient Indian philosophy, where Buddha Shakyamuni articulated the 4 great elements. Despite differing ideological frameworks, both traditions emerged around the same time, suggesting a profound interconnectedness in human thought. The ancient Greeks also recognized a 5th element, or quinta essentia, known as ether. Initially considered separate from the 4 elements, ether was later classified as the 5th element by Aristotle. This term originated from the primordial Greek god Ether, representing the highest realms of existence. The debate over ether's existence persists today, yet discussions often remain confined to modern scientific paradigms, obscuring its traditional cultural significance. Ancient wisdom emphasized the unity of spirit and matter, viewing thought as a form of light, and ether as a divine manifestation. The concept of the 5 elements in Buddhism, comprising earth, water, fire, wind, and space, parallels the ancient Greek model. While differing in specifics, both frameworks point to a shared human endeavor to understand the cosmos, echoing the idea expressed in the I Ching. Different paths lead to the same destination: tradition and change. Reflecting on ancient cultures prompts an important question in cultural history. What is tradition? While tradition often implies a long history, not everything with historical depth qualifies as tradition. A common characteristic across ancient cultures is that many basic moral norms and customs originated from mythology or ancient religions. For instance, concepts like Pangu, creating heaven in Eastern mythology, and the establishment of human relationships by gods in Western religions were initially set by divine figures and later passed down to mortals. This is often referred to as divine transmitted culture. Divine transmitted cultures typically emerge in the early stages of a civilization's cycle, undergoing formation, stability, decay, and eventual destruction. New civilizations may replace older ones due to natural disasters, large-scale wars or epidemics, leading to significant loss of life and the abandonment of prehistoric cultures. In some cases, remnants of old civilizations may be absorbed into new ones, or preserved as historical artifacts. As civilizations evolve, they follow the law of formation, stability, decay, destruction. When a civilization reaches its destruction phase, cultural elements, including the original divine transmitted culture, may also be lost. Over long historical periods, this culture can be altered or even reversed by subsequent generations. Noble mythological narratives, as they align with declining social morals, may deviate from their origins, becoming degraded and corrupted. Such changes mean that this altered culture can no longer be considered divine transmitted culture. Interestingly, this deviant culture often boasts a long history. Once preserved as part of a new civilization's heritage, it may seem more extensive than the period of divine transmitted culture. However, while history is respected, the corruption inherent in this culture can lead to dangerous consequences, particularly as society evolves. Returning to our original question, what constitutes tradition? It is divine transmitted orthodoxy. This orthodoxy does not depend on temporal context, but rather on its divine nature. Therefore, even contemporary divine teachings, regardless of their lack of historical accumulation, can be considered tradition. Conversely, if a concept is not orthodox, even if it has ancient roots, it does not qualify as the tradition we discuss here. Some might label these as demonic traditions, but they are unrelated to the concept of tradition presented here. Yantel Ranvayelitua Simua Pro Hot Tuadetat. In Western artworks from previous eras, themes from ancient Greek and Roman cultures predominated. To aid in understanding this cultural foundation, I have presented this article in a straightforward and relatively neutral manner. It serves as a brief introduction to representative stories within the vast ocean of culture, rather than a comprehensive exploration. Written from a general academic perspective, it aims to be accessible to readers from diverse social backgrounds and viewpoints. I acknowledge the article's limitations and appreciate your understanding.